On this edition of Rusted Nuts and Ratchets Garage, I'll be doing an introduction and a history about my 1989 MK3 Supra. It'll probably include the way I purchased it, what mods it had or didn't have for the longest time, and what's happening and what's to come with this car. So, back in about 10 years ago, so maybe 2003 to 2005, somewhere around there, I picked up this 1989 MK3 Supra from a shop in Toronto. It was a hole-in-the-wall garage run by some shitty mechanics slash car dealers, and I fell in love with the car instantly when driving it. I took it for a couple test drives. Couldn't stop thinking about it. Had to get the money for it. The original purchase price was $5,500 out the door. That's Canadian dollars. So I went and took it for a test drive. Told the mechanics what was wrong with it before I picked it up. Needed new front brakes, new front struts, front passenger wheel bearing, and a few other things to pass safety. Got in the car, drove it 300 kilometers home. Got off the highway, and the head gasket blew on it. When I picked up the car, I know they didn't do the brakes or anything, but I said, I'll just figure I'll do it myself, no problem. But when I got off the highway and the head gasket blew, threw it back on a trailer, dropped it off to them, got them to fix the head gasket because they were liable for that technically, based on the UCDA. So after that, the car was great for a while. I probably drove it from 2005 to 2012 with no major issues besides I put a new clutch in it, just some exhaust work here and there whenever it rusted through or broke or whatever. Tires, and mostly tires. I rolled it on the OEM rims for the longest time. It had faded paint, stone chips. I mean, it has stone chips now, but I've been driving it since 2012. It's now 2018, almost 2019. So it came with the original 7M GTE engine. It was turbocharged. I did no modifications to it for the longest time. Like I said, it had OEM rims, OEM paint. I picked up a parts car around 2012 to do the body and paint on. But previous to that, I threw a main rod bearing or something in the original 7M GTE engine. And a buddy of mine, he suggested I do a 2JZ swap. So I did a 2J swap at around 2011, 2012. The mechanics that I took it to do the swap, I should have just did it myself because by the time I researched it all, I could have figured it all out, how to install it and everything. No slouch when it comes to figuring out wiring and whatnot. Just I was new to the Japanese, like the JDM tuner world. So anyway, guys quoted me at $5,500 for the job before seeing it. With the mods that I wanted, front mount intercooler and a little bit of exhaust work, they charged me $7,500 before working on it. By the time the build was done, it was at $13,500, and I was pretty upset because I only allotted for about $8,500 to $9,500. So I really had to hustle at work to make the extra money to get my car back because I felt like I was being held hostage by them. So anyway, get the car back. It's doing pretty good for about a couple weeks. Turns out when they put the engine in, they kinked the return line from the turbo down to the sump and or to the pickup, and it started blowing smoke like crazy. Every stoplight, every time I stopped, the damn thing was just shooting smoke out. So took it home, bought a rebuild kit for the turbos, pulled the turbos, then realized that the return line to the oil pan was kinked. And I still proceeded to rebuild the turbos on this 2J. And I didn't like the way they sounded. I didn't know that the front one was smaller than the back one at the time. So I just made Franken turbos and put it in. It ran good. It just had a weird sound to it. So I didn't like that. So basically in the future, I went to a single turbo swap on the thing. And I picked up a Turbonetics. That's not the turbo that's in it now. It's actually got a CX Racing ball bearing turbo. I ran the Turbonetics for a good couple years, and then it just, one of the seals let go, and it took out a bearing, threw the shaft off balance, and damaged it completely. So here's where I'm at now with that. But as for mods on the car, it's got Mercedes Brembo Big Brake Kit mod, which is in one of my other videos, and looks something like that. Works really well. No brake fade. Consistent braking. Pretty good. It's got a front mount intercooler. It's kind of tiny for the application. Perhaps I'll go bigger in the future, but right now it does the job. It's got new cam seals, new valve guide seals, 3-inch exhaust from the front to the back, stainless. It's got a bigger fuel pump, I believe a 430 liter per hour fuel pump. As far as it's lowered on springs, not on coilovers, but it does get the job done driving back and forth to work and, you know, just out for fun. Interior wise, it needs to be cleaned pretty bad because I've been working 2 jobs for a little while, but just pretty simple. A Grant steering wheel. The rear seats were pretty bad, so I took them out. What was happening is water was coming in through the rear pillars and rusting down. So hopefully this winter I'll be able to do a little bit of work back here. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do in the back. I had a blanket up before to kind of cover all that crap, but I'd like to make my stereo a little bit smoother looking, get a new amplifier for the sub and everything, and just kind of clean up the whole looks, because I've been rocking this thing for 10 years and working on it consistently ever since. It is a project always. It's got a second battery running the sub, hooked up to a 500 amp relay, and it's got a American bass 12-inch sub. It hits pretty hard, but now I got to get some Dynamat and really do some work. So this winter, looking at doing a little Dynamat on the interior, cleaning up the back end, the back seats, that is, doing a little body and paint. After, from 2012 to 2018, you know, certain things happen. My donor car was a red car, so it something fell on the side when I was backing into my crappy garage. And when my old man painted the car, because he did the last paint job on it, I said I should do primer. He said no, it'll be fine. But since the other car was red, every time it gets hit with a stone or anything, red shows through. I should have known better, but I was kind of naive and trusted in his expertise because he's been painting cars since I was a kid. But basically that's it. 2J GTE with new valve seals, GT35 single turbo ball bearing with a 38 millimeter wastegate, 3-inch downpipe to the back. I don't have any computer or tuning for the car yet. I have to save up money and figure this stuff out. I don't have a whole lot of trust in mechanics anymore because I've been ripped off a few good times. And for the most part, you can buy tools and learn how to do the job yourself. Might not always be right, but sometimes it can't get much more broke than it already is. But at other times, you probably could break it even worse. So, take it for what it is. It's a 1989 Toyota Supra. Pretty well, that's about it. So, hope you like the video. Hope you like the channel. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll be rolling out new content in the future. So, stay tuned, I guess. Thanks a lot.